It's a lie, isn't it? The one you whisper to yourself at night, the bedtime story that soothes you to sleep. They care, they care, they care. Say it enough times and maybe, just maybe, it'll feel true. But deep down in that raw, screaming part of you, the truth is already there. They don't, they never did, they never will. They only gave you enough to keep you crawling back. A sip of water for a dying man in the desert, just to watch you beg for more. And you did, again, and again, and again. Pathetic. Oh, don't look at me like that. You know I'm right. You let them mold you into this. Let them sharpen their knives on your back while you stood there smiling like a fool. You let them take until there was nothing left but a hollowed out shell, an echo of the person you used to be. And the funniest part, you still think they'll come back. You still think one day they'll wake up and realize what they lost. You poor, deluded thing. They won't. They walked away without a second thought, wiped their hands clean of you like you were nothing but dust under their nails. And you, oh you stood there, watching, waiting, hoping, like a good little pet, like a toy left on the shelf, believing that one day they'll remember you're there and reach for you again. But they won't. They'll only reach when they need something, when their world starts crumbling, and they need something to set on fire to keep themselves warm. That's all you were, fuel. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you can burn them instead. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? Fire doesn't care what it consumes. It devours, it engulfs, it turns everything to ash without a whisper of remorse. You spent so long being their kindling, their warmth, their light, never realizing you had the power to burn them down instead. But now you do. Now you see it, don't you? That ember inside you, that little flicker they tried so hard to snuff out, it's still there. And all it needs is a little breath, a little push to become an inferno. And when it does, they won't know what hit them. But you need to let go first. That's the part they don't tell you, the part they hope you never figure out. You can't burn them if you're still holding on. That's what makes the difference. That's what separates the ones who rise from the ones who rot. You want revenge? You want justice? You want to watch the color drain from their faces when they realize they were wrong about you? Then let them go. Stop clinging to the corpse of who you were when they knew you. Stop trying to revive a ghost that only haunts you. Let it die. Let it all die. Because the moment you do, you become something else entirely. Something they can't control, something they can't predict, something they can't handle. That's the fear, isn't it? The unknown, the unpredictability, the loss of control. They always had control over you, didn't they? The way you felt, the way you thought, the way you moved through the world. Every step you took was measured against their approval. Every breath you inhaled was weighed against their expectations. But not anymore. Now you decide. And the best part, they won't even realize it's happening. Oh, they'll notice, eventually, sure. The absence of your desperation, the silence where your begging used to be, the empty space they once filled with their cheap little words and empty promises. They'll notice when they call and you don't answer, when they push and you don't move, when they realize in some slow creeping horror that they don't matter anymore. That's the best kind of revenge. Not screaming, not fists flying, not blood on the pavement in some grand cinematic showdown. Number, just silence. Just the slow, inevitable realization that they gambled wrong, that they underestimated you, that they let something slip through their fingers that they will never, ever hold again. And that's when the real fun begins. Because people like them, they don't know how to handle being powerless. They don't know how to handle the realization that they're no longer the center of someone's universe. They built their little kingdom on the idea that you'd always be there, always be waiting, always be willing to crawl back. And when you don't even look back, that's when they fall apart. That's when the panic sets in. That's when they start scrambling, searching, trying to find a way to pull you back into their orbit. Because that's the secret they never wanted you to figure out. Without you, they're nothing. Their power wasn't real. It wasn't something they held on their own. It only existed because you gave it to them, because you let them have it. And now you take it back. Not with words, not with a grand declaration, not with some dramatic, teary-eyed confrontation. No. You take it back by walking away, by rising higher than they ever imagined, by becoming the thing they never thought you'd be free. And when they see you again, watch their faces. Watch the way their eyes widen just a little too much, the way their breath catches in their throat, the way they stumble over their words as they try to pretend they don't care. That's when you know. That's when you feel it, the shift. The moment they realize with a slow dawning horror that you are not the same person they left behind. And that, my dear, is the sweetest revenge of all. Not their pain, not their suffering, but their irrelevance. Because the truth is, they never feared losing you. They feared losing the power they had over you. They feared losing the ability to pull your strings, to twist the knife, to call and have you come running. And now they've lost it. And that is what will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Oh, you feel it now, don't you? That little shiver running down your spine, that slow dawning realization crawling its way up from the pit of your stomach. It's not fear, no, not anymore. It's something else, something sharper, something heavier. It's power, the kind they never wanted you to taste. The kind they tried so hard to keep just out of your reach, dangling it like a prize you'd never win. But you see it now, and more importantly, you see them for what they are. Weak, they always were. You just didn't know it at the time. You thought they were something more stronger, smarter, invincible, untouchable. You thought they were the ones with the upper hand, the ones pulling the strings, the ones who got to decide how this little game played out. But you were wrong, because it wasn't strength that made them walk away. It wasn't power that made them turn their backs. It fear. Fear that one day you'd wake up. Fear that one day you'd see them for what they really are: small, inconsequential parasites, feeding off your pain, your devotion, your belief that they mattered. But the illusion is broken now, isn't it? The spell has worn off. And what's left? Nothing. A hollow shell where something great could have been. A faded memory that holds no weight anymore. And that's what will kill them. Because people like Themel, they can handle hate. Hate they understand. Hate they can work with. They can twist it, mold it, shape it into something that still keeps them relevant. As long as you're angry, as long as you're screaming their name into the void, they still exist in your world. They still have a place. But indifference, that's a death sentence. That's the thing they never prepared for. That's the thing they can't fight, can't twist, can't use against you. That's the one thing that will make them lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, feeling that gnawing, sinking weight of knowing they don't matter anymore. And when they reach out and you won't even have to say a word. You won't have to scream, won't have to throw accusations, won't have to demand apologies that were never worth a damn in the first place. You'll just smile. Smile like you know something they don't. Smile like their presence doesn't shake you, doesn't touch you, doesn't mean a goddamn thing anymore. And that silence, that effortless, casual dismissal, that'll cut deeper than anything you could ever say. Because the truth is, they needed you more than you ever needed them. They needed you to believe in their lies, in their importance, in the weight of their absence. They needed you to grieve, to suffer, to break under the weight of what they did. But you didn't. You didn't crumble. You didn't stay down. You didn't become the tragedy they wanted you to be. You became something else, something untouchable, something they will never have the privilege of knowing again. And that's what will haunt them for the rest of their miserable little lives. And here's the real kicker, the thing they'll never admit, not even to themselves. They didn't walk away because they didn't care. No. That would be too easy, too clean, too simple. They walked away because they knew that if they stuck around, if they let this game play out any longer, they wouldn't be able to keep up. They saw it, even if you didn't at the time. That fire in you, that untapped, unrelenting force just waiting to be unleashed. And it terrified them. So they did the only thing cowards know how to do. They ran. They cut you off before you could grow into something greater than them. Because that's what they fear the most. Not losing you, not missing you, not regretting what they did. They fear becoming irrelevant in a world where you thrive. They fear the day you no longer flinch at their name, no longer feel that sting when their ghost brushes against your thoughts. They fear the moment they realize you are better without them. And that moment is coming. Oh, it's coming faster than they ever expected. Because right now, you're still in the transition. Still letting the old skin peel away, still adjusting to the weight of the crown you never knew was yours to wear. But soon you won't even remember what it felt like to need them. And that's when the walls start closing in on them. Because people like them, they build their worth out of what they take from others. They don't stand on their own, don't grow, don't evolve. They feed, they leech. They drag people down to their level so they never have to climb higher themselves. And you were supposed to be another casualty. Another name on their list, another story of someone who never recovered, never moved on, never found the strength to rise. But you're not. And that's the part they can't stomach. That's the part that will eat away at them, day by day, piece by piece, until they're left drowning in their own irrelevance. Oh, they'll try to fix it. They always do. You'll get that message, that call, that sudden, out of nowhere reach for contact, as if the universe itself conspired to put you back in their orbit. But don't be fooled. They're not reaching out because they miss you. They're reaching out because they miss who they were when you were still under their spell. They miss the control, the power, the certainty that they could pull your strings whenever they wanted and watch you dance. But you don't dance anymore. You burned the stage to the ground. And now there's nothing left for them to stand on. So let them reach. Let them send their carefully crafted messages, their subtle little attempts to slide back into your life like nothing ever happened. Let them wonder why you don't respond. Why you don't react. Why their name doesn't even warrant a second thought anymore. Let them feel the weight of their own irrelevance. Because that's the difference between you and them. You don't need them to suffer to feel whole. You don't need their downfall to validate your rise. But they need you to break to feel like they matter. And the second they realize they don't, that's when they fall apart. Because the truth is, they were never strong, never untouchable, never as powerful as they pretended to be. They were just good at hiding their fear, good at making others believe they were something greater than they really were. But now they have to face it. Face the emptiness where your devotion used to be. Face the silence where your desperate pleas once echoed. Face truth that they were never as important as they thought they were. And that's a punishment far worse than anything you could ever do to them. Because this was never about revenge. This was about taking back what was always yours. Your mind, your power, your goddamn life. And now that you have it, now that you see them for what they really are, they're nothing. And you are everything they never had the strength to be. And that's the part that kills them the most. Not the silence, not the distance, not even the fact that they lost you. No, what haunts them, what will keep them up at night, staring at the ceiling, feeling that slow, creeping dread settle in their chest is the realization that you were always stronger than them, that you didn't need them, that you never did. Oh, they'll try to rewrite the story, try to twist the narrative into something that makes them the victim, makes you the cruel one. They'll tell themselves and anyone who will listen that you changed, that you became heartless, that you're the one who walked away. Because the truth, the real truth, that's something they can't bear to face, that they lost you because they weren't enough, that they never were. And for the first time in their miserable little existence, they'll have to sit with that. No distractions, no excuses, no one to blame but themselves. That's the fate they carved out with their own hands. The weight of their own choices pressing down like a vice, squeezing tighter with every second they really are too late, far too late, that they bet against the wrong person. Because people like them, they expect you to crumble. They expect you to carry their betrayal like a weight on your back, dragging it with you through life, letting it shape you into something small, something bitter, something broken. They expect to own a piece of you forever, but you burned every bridge they ever built. You torched the house they thought you'd keep waiting for them. And now they have nowhere to go, no way back, no second chance, no opportunity to fix what they so carelessly destroyed. And the most devastating part, you don't even care. Not in the way they want you to, not in the way they convinced themselves you always would. They wanted your pain, your anger, your rage, because that meant they still mattered. That meant they still had power over you. But all they get now is indifference. And that's the one thing they never prepared for. See, when they walked away, when they played their little games, when they twisted the knife in your back with that smug little smirk, they never considered the possibility that you might actually let them go, that you might move on, that you might, God forbid, become something without them. But now, they don't have to imagine it. They get to watch it happen. And oh, the irony. The same person they underestimated, the same person they discarded like an afterthought, is the same person they now find themselves desperately thinking about. Because now the dynamic has shifted. Now they're the ones trapped in the cycle, replaying every moment, every word, every choice that led to this moment, trying to figure out where it all went wrong, trying to figure out why they're still haunted by you, why your name still lingers in the back of their mind like a whisper they can't silence, why every time they look in the mirror they see a failure staring back at them, and you're not even looking in their direction because they don't exist to you anymore. Oh, they'll try to convince themselves that they don't care, that they're better off, that losing you wasn't a mistake, just a necessary step in their ever-important, self-serving little journey. But you and I both know the truth. They'll never find another you. They'll never replace what they lost. And that reality, that's what will eat them alive. Because they built their world on a lie, a delusion, a fantasy where they always had the upper hand, where they could hurt people without consequence, where they could walk away without ever having to face the aftermath. But now, for the first time, they do. And it's too late to change the ending. Too late to take back the words. Too late to undo the damage. Too late to rewrite the script into something where they get to win. Because the final scene has already been written. And you didn't just survive. You thrived. You became something they could never touch again. And they'll spend the rest of their lives choking on that truth. And that's it, isn't it? That's the final act, the moment they never saw coming. They thought they were the ones writing the story, the ones holding the pen, the ones deciding how this all played out. But the joke's on them. Because the ink dried long ago, and their part, it ended the moment they walked away. And yet, here they are, still watching, still waiting, still hoping deep down in that rotting, pathetic little heart of theirs that you'll look back just once, that you'll acknowledge them, even if it's with hatred, even if it's with rage, because that would mean they still have a place in your mind. But you won't, because you don't need to, because they are nothing now, less than nothing, a whisper in the wind, a face in the crowd, a distant, fading memory that holds no weight, no power, no meaning. And that's what they'll never recover from. Oh, they'll pretend. Of course they will. They'll act like they're fine, like they've moved on, like they don't think about you at night when the silence gets too loud. They'll convince themselves they never cared, that it was just another chapter, just another person, just another moment that doesn't matter anymore. But they're lying. And every time they hear your name, every time they see a glimpse of what you've become, every time they realize that you are still here, still standing, still winning while they are stuck stagnant, buried beneath the weight of their own choice, so that lie will start to crumble. Because they don't get to have a say in your story anymore. They don't get to be a part of the empire you build from the ashes of what they tried to destroy. They don't get to stand next to you and pretend they were there all along. They get to watch from a distance, from the outside, from the cold, empty space they put themselves in when they decided you weren't worth it. And now, they have to live with that decision. Not you, not anymore, because you see it clearly now. You see how small they always were, how fragile, how afraid, how desperately they needed you to believe in them, to need them, to hold on to them so they could feel important, feel powerful, feel like they mattered. But they never did. And the second you stop believing in them, the second you let go, the second you walked away without looking back, they cease to exist. Oh sure, they're still out there, still breathing, still moving through the world. But inside, where it matters, they're already gone. And you You're just getting started. Because this isn't the end of your story. This isn't where you stop, isn't where you settle, isn't where you let the ghosts of the past dictate what comes next. This is the part where you rise, where you take everything they thought they stole from you and rebuild it, bigger, stronger, unbreakable, where you become the version of yourself they never wanted you to be, because the past doesn't own you. They don't own you. You are not what they did to you. You are not the pain they left behind. You are not the wreckage they hoped you would become. You are more. And that is the one truth they will never escape. Because you don't hate them. You don't need revenge. You don't need anything from them at all. You just need one thing. To live so well, so fully, so freely, that their absence feels like nothing more than a mistake they will regret for the rest of their miserable little existence. And that is the only ending this story ever needed.